All right. Well, hey, welcome everybody to Control Alt Achieve Live for December 12th, 2022. Thank you so much for joining me, whether you're here live or whether you're watching a recording of this or listening to a recording later. I appreciate you being with me and taking the time to learn along with me. As usual, all the resources for tonight can be found at bit.ly/CAA live. That'll get you to this Google document that has everything we're going to be looking at. If you scroll down to page 2 of the document, that's where all of the resources begin. So you'll see on page 2, we've got the links for tonight. These are the ones we're going to be exploring, but hey, you can also browse back through previous weeks. There's lots and lots of great resources going back for several months before this, but these are the ones we're going to be looking at tonight. Again, bit.ly/CAA-live will get you to that document. So take a moment to get that pulled up and get settled in. While you're doing that, very quick introduction. So hi, everybody. My name is Eric Kurtz. I'm an EdTech coach in Northeast Ohio, and I run the website controlaltachieve.com. That's where I share all of my EdTech resources and would encourage you to check out that site if you haven't had a chance to be there. At the top of the document, there's lots of ways to connect with me. My blog is linked in there, email, Twitter, YouTube. If you have not joined our email discussion group yet, please do that. I think we're just around, I think we just crossed 500 members in the group, or at least we're really close to it. It's a very active group, wonderful, wonderful people sharing amazing resources, asking questions, connecting. It's a great place. So do join that. And also, if you haven't signed up for my weekly email newsletter, that newsletter is right around 10,000 subscribers at the moment. So you may be able to push it over that milestone as well if you haven't signed up for my free weekly email newsletter. Beyond that, several other links here for ways to connect with me. Please feel free to take advantage of those. But I also want to connect with you. So during this session, I would encourage you to please leave feedback. And there's several ways to do that. You can do that in the chat. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, however you're connecting, please feel free to say hi. And I see that Jessica said hello from Georgia. So hey, Jessica, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I appreciate you saying hi. So please do that. I'm going to do my best to keep an eye on the chat as it's running in another monitor over here. If you've got questions, if you've got suggestions, if you've got things you want to share, please throw them in there. You can also just put comments right in this document. I have commenting turned on, so you can highlight some text and drop in a comment on the side. And I also have a Google form that is linked in here as well. And you can put in questions or comments through there. And you can put in your name if you want, but you don't have to. I will monitor that as well and see if any questions or comments come in through there. All right. Well, hopefully that gave you time to get settled in and get things pulled up again. bit.ly/CAA-live. That'll always get you to the same document. We just keep adding to the document each week. So once you found it, you're good to go. Well, let's go ahead and get on into our EdTech links of the week. Oh, hey, Jennifer says hi as well. Hey, Jennifer, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate that. Great to see you. Awesome. So many fantastic folks. Well, we're going to go ahead and move on down to page 2 of the document where we're going to look at our EdTech links from the last week. So this is where I try to, throughout the week, keep my eyes open, whether it's listening to a podcast, reading blogs, watching YouTube videos, interacting, on Facebook or Twitter or in these wonderful email groups that we have, and trying to see, okay, what are some neat things I could, learn from and share with others. And so this week, I've got 4 things from around the web, and then I've got a couple of things that I have created and put on my blog. I think the big one is going to be ChatGPT. So just so you know, I'm going to go through these other ones first, but I think I want to save some time for ChatGPT because I think that has taken the internet by storm, and I want to give some proper time to have a good discussion about ChatGPT and what this AI tool means for education. So I'd love to hear from you guys. If you have played around with ChatGPT, please start sharing. What have you typed in? What have you done? What are your concerns about it? But more importantly, what are you excited about with it? What are the positives you see on how these advances in AI are going to be able to help in education? So we're going to run through these other ones first, and we'll save that for more of the bulk there at the end and spend some time on there. And oh, hey, we've got Kristen saying hi as well. Hi, Kristen. Thanks so much for being here. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn off my my banner so that I am not covering things up here. And I'm also going to turn off my camera because I'll just put on the main screen there. You don't need to be seeing me popping up the whole time. Oh, hey, and Wendy is from Pennsylvania. Thanks so much for saying hi, Wendy. Great to have you here as well. So let's go ahead and get on into, first of all, the things I came across on the internet. So the first one I came across was Bbot Online. So let's go ahead and jump on out to Bbot. So if you're not familiar with Bbot, these are actual physical little robot guys. Here, let me open up a link to the Bbot page. So that's what they look like. They look like little bees. And these are designed to allow younger children to start learning about programming and programming logic. And so basically what you do is you can program these little Bbots with moves that you want them to make. And then they've got like these learning mats. So here, I'll open up some of the learning mats so you can see. And these are physical learning mats. You put these on the ground and you program the Bbots and they go around and they follow your orders. So I've actually used these in real life. They're real cute. They're awesome. Well, what I love about this, though, this is a completely virtualized version of Bbots. So if you can't afford the actual Bbots, or if you don't have enough for every student, or if you want them to practice before they go and actually use the Bbots, hey, whatever method you want, this will do it. So basically what you've got here is a little Bbot, and you've got all these different mats. There's the alphabet mat, there's the community mat, there's the country road mat, there's a CVC word mat. There's so many different mats here. So basically you've got all these mats and then you've got the programming. So this is just like on the back of the Bbot, same kind of a thing. And what you can do is you can click on these buttons to put in the steps you're going to want it to take. So let's say, and there's no goal. I mean, you get to make up what your goal is. In this case, the Bbot's down here. Let's say I want some pizza. I want to go get some pizza. So I've got to get my Bbot from here up to the pizza place. So what I would do is I'd start clicking in my direction. So I say, okay, well, he's got to go forward. So that puts the forward command in. Then he should turn to the right. So let's get him to turn to the right. After he turns to the right, he should go forward again, 2 squares, right? So 1, 2 squares. Then he should turn to the left and then forward 2 more squares. I think that's what the Bbot should do. Now let's find out. So now I can click go and we'll see. Getting done. Looking good, looking good. And yes, I made it to the pizza place. Great. Awesome. And there's not just one way to do it. Another student could say, I'm going to loop him around this way, and for all the different mats, there's so many possibilities on how you can use these. I just thought this was really great because I've used them in real life. And I thought how nice that there is a perfectly free version of this that you can just do here in your browser. So I thought that was worth sharing out. I am seeing a couple of comments popping up on this. So Melissa says, our kindergarten teachers and students love these and make lots of their own real life mats. Yeah, that's a great suggestion too. If you've got the physical Bbot, you can make your own mats that go beyond the ones that they sell as well. So, that's great. I'm glad that you've got some good experience with those. All right. Fantastic. Well, that was our first link. Let's keep on moving. So our next link here we're going to take a look at is the PhET mean simulation. Okay. So this is a specific simulation on PhET about learning about mathematical mean. But more than anything, I'm just pulling this up as an example of the wonderful simulations at PhET. So if you're not familiar with PhET, this is a great website. It's completely free, interactive simulations for science and math. They're phenomenal. If I come in here and click on simulations, you'll see that they have quite a lot of these. They cover physics and chemistry and math and earth science and biology. And these all run right in your web browser. Used to be that they were created in Flash. And then when Flash went away, I was so worried we were going to lose all of these. And they've updated them to HTML5. And they're adding new ones all the time. So this is one of the newer ones they've added. And so I'm just going to demonstrate this as an example of the kind of really cool stuff you're going to see at PhET. So if you're not a math person, maybe this will get you excited to go explore some of the other simulations they have. So for this particular one, I'll just hit play and it'll start the simulation up. And what we're doing with this one is we're trying to predict the mathematical average of a set of numbers by visualizing those numbers as jars or beakers that contain water in them. And you can add as many cups as you want. So you can have, like here, now I've got 4 cups across the bottom, and you can adjust the level in the water as well. If you want to make some of them taller and some of them lower and whatever, you can adjust the water level in them. Well, they're basically representing numbers. They're representing quantities. My job is to try to predict what I think the average would be. If we were to combine all these beakers together and let them be the same, well, what would the average be? So the way this tool works is I can do a couple of things. For example, up here, I can turn on the tick marks. If I do that, it'll show me rough estimates as to where the water is falling on these tick marks here. And then when I'm ready to predict the mean, I will click on the predict mean button and it gives me a pencil. I can now move that pencil up and down to decide where I think the average is going to be. So I've got like a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 3. So probably somewhere in this range here. So I might say, okay, around there is going to be about the average. Well, when I'm ready, I can now reveal the average a couple of ways. One way is I can click the mean button and it will show me the average. Hey, I was pretty close, pretty darn close there. Another option I have is I can release the floodgates. I can open up these valves by clicking the switch and it will let the water drain between all of the cups into each other, and you can see what the average would look like there. And then you can start over again. So it's a great way to make it more concrete when you're talking about, okay, I want to understand, I want to learn about average. This one models it really well. There's a lot of these great simulations there at PhET. So hopefully just that one will get you excited about exploring some of the other ones that are there as well. Jessica is saying that she loves PhET and it integrates with Nearpod. I did not know that, Jessica. I was not aware of that. I really need to do a little bit more with Nearpod. I am more familiar with Pear Deck myself, but I know Nearpod's an amazing tool. So that's great to hear that it integrates with that. And then Kristen mentioning that she's a 7th grade science teacher and uses PhET all the time, and the kids love it. So I'm glad to hear that as well. That is fantastic. All right, well, let's keep on moving. Our next link is Google Year in Search Local 2022. Okay, what is this all about? So every year, at the end of the year, there's always these wrap-ups. I'm sure if you're a Spotify person, you've done your Spotify wrap-up. If I use Google Play Music, I guess it's YouTube Music now, and so that's when I got my my wrap-up that tells me what my genres are and all that kind of stuff. Well, Google does the same thing for search, and so it's the end of the year, so they've done this for search, but they've added. At least I don't know if they've done this in the past. I'm not sure, but this year they have a local search, which I think is really neat to add this additional element to it. So what you can do is put in a zip or a city and see what was trending in your area this year. Now, I live up in the Cleveland area. So if I put in Cleveland, it's going to tell me what was trending in the Cleveland area. So as I scroll down here, I'll see that searching for remote jobs. that was a big one. Totally understandable. I can get that. Our top search for animals was a Pallas cat. I maybe I'm not saying that right. Pallas. I don't know what that is. I should actually learn. Probably if I click the link, there you go. See there, it runs it. So I can learn something new about that. So apparently people in Cleveland have been very interested in that. Other things. We search for fish fry more than pretty much anybody else. We're one of the top places in the US looking for a fish fry near me, which is fine. Hey, I'll take a fish fry. I love a good fish fry. And we were looking also for green goddess salads as our trending recipe, and rap music was the genre we searched for more than anything. And then it gets into some more things. So you can see what were some of the common searches that were happening in Cleveland. Well, you can come down here to the map, then you can explore, all over the country. So this could be whoops, sorry, I didn't mean to click on Indianapolis, but that's fine. Let me get back down to there. And so you could check out other places around the country and see, okay, well, what was trending elsewhere. And this would be a neat way to compare your local city with, other cities around the country. Now, keep in mind, in addition to the local search, which I think is great, I think that's a great way to talk to, learn about what's happening locally. There is a link also out to their just general trends for the 2022. And so this is their year in review. They got a nice video to kind of wrap up. And this could be really just cool for your students as well to be like, okay, let's watch this video that Google put together. It kind of summarizes the year. And then maybe that inspires them to do the same. Maybe they do a summary of what was critical in your year? What were the big points in your year as well? Google always puts together a very nice, like 2-3 minute video that wraps up the year. Then they've also got their trends list here, which will show some of the main trends from 2022, whether it was news or athletes or movies or recipes or whatever the case might be. And all of this, don't forget, is part of the bigger tool, which is just Google Trends in general. So Google Trends itself is basically a website where Google tracks what are people searching for. So over the last, 18 years or whatever that they've been collecting search data, you can go through and see, what has been trending over that time. And you can compare different, cities or different states and different countries and so forth. So for example, just as one that I think would be a good quick example for this, let's say you put in the Tulsa race massacre, that incident. Let's say we throw that in as a search. So maybe this is a social studies class, and we're talking about the Tulsa race riots that happened. Well, if we come here and say, let's go back as far as we can, which is 2004, it's like 18 years worth, we'll see that in Google searching, this was not something that popped up a whole lot. It was a lot of quietness over, a long time here. And then suddenly, like out of nowhere, October of 2019, boop, there's a spike, like it jumps on the collective radar there. And then another spike in June, another spike in June. And I was curious if that would be the case, because I don't know if anybody knows what happened in October of 2019. Why did the Tulsa race riots, why did that boom suddenly jump into people's consciousness? Well, I don't know if you're aware, if you watched the show or not, but there was a TV show called The Watchmen. There had been a movie about The Watchmen. Of course, it's based on the Alan Moore graphic novel. Well, they did a TV show about Watchmen as well. And the very first episode, October 2019, that's what it dealt with. And it was showing that. And it was really very impactful. And suddenly, boom, that's on everybody's mind. Then we've got Juneteenth here in June and again in June. And so what's so cool, it's not just a graph, it's about the questions behind it. So you say, okay, guys, let's talk about why. What's happening, in our culture, what's happening in history? Why is there a bump? Why is there a dip? What's going on? And you can also break this down into specific states, if you want to go into specific states as well. Really, really interesting. So anyway, that's a bigger picture. So, that's Google Trends, but there's also just the trends for 2022. And there's also just the trends for your local area. So all of those, I think, could lead to a lot of great discussions in your class. All right, seeing some more comments popping up. Peggy George saying, hi. Hey, Peggy, great to have you as always. And Cassandra from Harlem, thanks so much for being here. Melissa Dill saying, love those discussions. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Melissa. It's all about talking about why. It's not just, oh, this is a cool graph. It's Well, what was happening historically? Why do we have a spike? Why do we have a dip? What's going on, throughout history? All right, love it, love it, love it. All right, let's keep going. The last one from around the web is Simple ML for Sheets. Okay, what is this? So this is a new add-on. This just came out December 7th. So you can see this is fresh off the presses. This is a brand new add-on for Google Sheets. And if you're not familiar with add-ons, basically there are third-party tools that you can install to get extra features that you don't normally have, similar to extensions, but these are add-ons. And so Docs has add-ons and slides and forms and sheets, and Gmail has add-ons and Drive and so forth. And I've done a lot of blog posts about add-ons. So if you ever head out to Control Alt Achieve, I did a whole series recently on add-ons. I think it was probably over November and October. I'd have to go back a little bit and see if I remember. It was the Supercharge series. So like supercharging forms with add-ons. And let me see if I've got, maybe it was further back than that. Yeah, supercharging docs with add-ons. Here's supercharging slides with add-ons. So I did a whole bunch of them where we talked about add-ons for forms, add-ons for docs, add-ons for slides. Well, this is an add-on for Sheets. And what this one does is it uses AI, it uses machine learning to look through your data and help make some predictions. And the two main things it predicts are if there's missing data, what the data might be, what would be reasonable, or if there is unusual data. If things aren't quite fitting the pattern correctly, it helps identify those. Now, I'm going to show you real quick what this looks like. So this is not real student data. This is just fake data, just fake student names and numbers. But I use this sheet all the time whenever I'm trying to do some training on Google Sheets. Well, let's say that I'm going to come in and I'm going to manipulate some of this data. Like maybe I'll take this 100% and I'll make it into a 13. So that should be an odd outlier. That should catch the attention of this, hopefully, of this add-on to be like, whoa, that doesn't fit what you're seeing here most of the time. Or let's say I remove some data. Maybe I come up here and I delete one. Can it fill that in? Can it predict what that might be? Now, I don't have a very big data set. This is not a great example. It's only 27 lines worth of data. So really, you should be doing this on a much larger data set. But I guess the point is, let's say you have a giant data set from your state testing. Maybe you got the electronic dump of all of the students' test results from state testing. This could be a really neat way to help you find things that are unusual, data that is, veering off of what you should expect it to be, to see where there might be some concern points in there. But this could also be used in a real life situation. I think the example they showed here, I don't know if I can make the picture big enough to show you here. Let me see if I can make it big enough here. It's kind of small. I learned a trick. You can actually come in and you can change the sizes here from 640 to 1280, and you can manually make it bigger. So here, let me make it bigger for you guys. There we go. So in this case, this is like a science class where students are doing records. In this case, I think it's penguins. Looks like they're penguins, but it could be if students are taking records of like, okay, here's a bunch of penguins, here's their bill length, here's their bill depth, here's their flipper length, but it could be, plants or whatever they're recording. But based off of what they know, it can make predictions like, oh, if these are the measurements you made, we can predict with great accuracy that this must be the species that comes from. Well, let's just run it and show you what it looks like. So if I come here and I launch Simple ML, I'll just do the two tests real quick on this data. So remember, we have predicting missing values and spotting abnormal values. So let's do spotting abnormal values first. So let's say I'm concerned about spotting some abnormal values, and let's go ahead and look in, what would it be, column H, which is score 1. So I'm going to hit spot abnormal values, let it run through and see if it notices anything weird in there. And as you can tell, it's a 0 abnormality until it gets down to here. And then, whoa, it definitely noticed that 13. So like a 94%, accuracy, saying there's a problem here. There's something unusual about that data. And then the other one that we can do was the predicting missing values. So I've got a missing value here for score 6. I can do a prediction. And again, I don't have enough data to get a really good prediction here, but it's saying, well, it should be somewhere around 79 or 80 is, would be a reasonable number based upon what's there. Anyway, if you work with a lot of data, I thought this was really neat. Could be a neat way, again, to find abnormal values or help make some predictions as well. So anyway, wanted to go ahead and get that on your radar there. Awesome. Oh, I did see some love for Autocrat. Kristen said using Autocrat right now. Yeah, that's by far my most used out of all the add-ons I use. You got it. I'm using Autocrat one way or another probably every week. And Kristen loves the names. Yeah, I did have to, I didn't want to use real students' names here. So I got a little creative with some of the names there. All right. Well, that gets us to the end of the things that are just from around the web. We're going to switch over now to things that are from my blog. Now, one of them is kind of a hybrid. Again, like I told you, we're going to talk about ChatGPT. It's kind of a hybrid. It's from the web, but I ended up doing a post about it. So we're going to hit both of those. But let's do it. We're going to go backwards here. I'm going to start with my recent Chrome miss things so that we can just leave as much time as we need for ChatGPT at the end. I want to make sure we give it all the time that it deserves for that. So we're going to switch now to recent blog posts, things that I've shared on my blog. And I'm smack dab in the middle of my 12 days of Chrome miss. So last week when we were here, I think I had only done the very first one, pinning tabs. But now we're about halfway into this. So what I decided to do was to do 12 days of Chrome miss, where we're going to be looking at every day a tip, a trick, a lesser known feature, a helpful idea related to making the most out of the Chrome web browser. And so you can always come back to this page anytime you want. It's bit.ly/Chromiss22. That'll get you back here. There's a big Chromiss image you can use, and each day these bulbs light up and they become clickable. And you can see I've still got quite a few to go here, but these are the ones that have been posted so far. You can also just come here and click on any of the links here. And of course, I'm also putting them as individual blog posts on the site here. So last week we talked about pinning tabs. I've released 4 new ones since then. I will not go into great depth on each of these. I'll just hit them really quick just so you get the gist. And then you guys are absolutely encouraged to investigate each one of these on your own afterwards. So on day 2, I talked about how in Chrome you can create QR codes right inside of Chrome. And so if you have a page that you want to share with other people, maybe I want to share this page. I want to share, this blog post. Well, up in the top URL bar, there's a little share button that you can click on. And one of the options in there is create QR code. And if you click that, it generates a real quick, happy, easy QR code for you that you can then download, and you can use that image however you want. You can put it in a slideshow. You can, put it on a newsletter. You can, put it on social media. You can put it up on the screen in class for people just to scan. If you're on a Chromebook, it's slightly different. On a Chromebook, you have to click on the URL bar first, and then the QR code button appears. So it looks just a little bit different on a Chromebook, but pretty similar there. After that, I did talk in here about some ideas of using QR codes, about how you can scan them with a Chromebook, how that's built right into the Chromebook, that you can scan QR codes, and then just some ideas like having students write book reviews and then putting QR codes to those inside of the library book. So when you pick up a library book, you can scan the QR codes and read or listen to the book reviews from other students, or art gallery details for students to put below their artwork, and so on and so on. So that was the first one, or the second one, but the first one since our last meeting. Day 3, I talked about Google Lens, which is built right into Google Chrome as a image search tool. So Google Lens is a great AI tool that Google has developed over the years. And what it allows you to do is click on any image that you come across and run basically a reverse search on it. So for example, I use this all the time. This is a picture of a shark swimming on the highway, a flooded highway. And the story was there was a hurricane. The shark came in, through the hurricane waters, and it was swimming down the highway, down the flooded highway. Well, if you right click on that image, you can say, I want to search this image with Google, and that will launch Google Lens. And Google Lens will do a reverse search. It'll take that picture and find, okay, well, where did that come from? What do we know about it? And right away, we can see fake, fake, all of these things about hoaxes and stuff like that. So we can tell very quickly. We can follow any of these links to learn more about it. But yes, it's a great way to look up information about an image if you're trying to validate its authenticity and to learn, okay, well, where did this really come from? That's a really important skill for all of us to have, especially our students. Now, in addition to investigating images, another thing I love about Google Lens is it can also handle text. If you've got text in a picture, you can't usually have text read aloud very easily. If it's like regular text that I can select, I could use, a lot of text-to-speech tools. But if it's stuck inside of an image, I can't really select it. I can't grab that text so that I can read it. Well, if I right-click on the picture and I say search with Google, it opens up Lens, and Lens has 3 modes. There's a search mode, which we already saw. It's got a text mode. If I go to text mode, I can select as much or as little of the text as I want. So I could come in here and I could just grab some of the text. And then once I grab the text, I can listen to it. Let's try that out. Let's hit listen.
Down, down, down. There was nothing else to do, so Alice soon began talking again.
And I hope I remembered to share my sound, and that's coming through to you guys. But that's amazing. So a student for assistive technology, they could use Lens to read text from images as well, not just from things that they can select. Then it's got another button, that's the translate button, where I can choose, I want to translate this into another language. So maybe I come in here and say, okay, let's translate this, into Spanish. And so now it's translating it into Spanish. And again, I could come in and hit, listen. Here, I'll just grab some of the text here and we'll hit listen.
Abajo, abajo, abajo. No había nada más que hacer, por lo que Alice pronto comenzó a hablar de nuevo.
And so there you go. Awesome. So we talked about Google Lens, how it's great for reading text aloud, translating text, and also looking up the origin, investigating images that you come across online. Day 4, we did live captions in Google Chrome. And this is the idea that if you're listening to something, audio or video with audio, if it doesn't have captions, which a lot of things have captions, but if it doesn't have captions, turns out Google Chrome has you covered. Google Chrome has a live caption feature. And basically, it's up in the top right-hand corner when you're playing audio, this little this little media control button shows up, and you can click that media control button and you can flip on live captions. So I demonstrated it by playing a podcast through my browser. Well, the podcast doesn't have captions, it's just audio. Well, I was able to flip on the live caption and boom, it starts captioning the podcast. And of course, you can adjust all the settings, as well to make it, bigger, to change the font and the font size and so forth. Now, and again, on a Chromebook, slightly different. I threw in some additional settings or additional settings for that. Basically, you go into the settings menu to accessibility, captions, and then you can toggle it on there. So it's a little different on a Chromebook. But again, anything that has audio, you can have automatically live captioned, even if somebody just sent you a video that they recorded and it doesn't have captions, this will do it for you. All right. And then the last one, the one I just put up, was icons and emojis for bookmarks. So this is the final one that I've got up so far. I've got another one for tomorrow, so it'll post for day 6, but we're up to day 5. And so this one was how to save some space on your bookmark bar. And so basically what I look at here is if you got a whole bunch of bookmarks, they take up a lot of room, and a lot of times it's the text. But the thing is, the icons are usually very identifiable. I mean, that's Gmail, of course, that's Drive, that's Calendar, that's Classroom, that's YouTube. And so what I like to do is to right click on the bookmark and go in and delete out the name, take that completely out. So instead of having the names next to the images, it just leaves the website icons instead. And then you could fit like 5 bookmarks in the place of 1 bookmark by doing that. And so I do that with a lot of my very frequently accessed sites. I will remove all the text so that it's just these little teeny icons for the bookmarks. Now, if they're the same thing, like in this case, all of these are Google Documents, it's a language arts, math, science, and social studies document. Well, in that case, I'll still delete out the text, but I might put an emoji in place for each of them. So it's still, a document image, but I've got the emoji next to it. So again, I'm saving tons of space. So that's one of the things I do to try to reclaim my bookmark bar and get as much stuff in there as I can. So anyway, that's the first 5 days. We've got 7 more days to go in the 12 days of Chromis. I'm really excited to share a lot more Chrome tips and tricks coming up, but I would love to learn from you guys. So please let me know. Send me your tips and tricks. I'm sure there's things I have forgotten or left out, and I would love to learn from you as well. Again, bit.ly/Chromis22 will get you to all of those. Let's see if we've had any comments to mention here. Let me see. We got Jessica with a mind blown emoji. That's great. Glad to see that. Melissa Dill says she wasn't familiar with the feature that we were talking. Let's see. Oh, it's lens. That's what we're talking about there. Sorry, I jumped in halfway into it. Yeah, Peggy was talking about Google Lens being amazing. That's awesome. Jessica's used that to poke holes in people's stories. That's fantastic. Love it. Hey, Jessica says loving Chrome Miss. She's doing a tech miss with her teachers, and today was day 8. So glad to hear that. A couple other things popping up. Wendy says, wow, that's incredible. We have such an influx of ELL students, so I love the ability to translate text from an image. Absolutely, Wendy. We're to a point now where any text, whether it's regular text or text in an image, there's a tool, there's a way to translate it, to speak it. That is wonderful. Peggy's saying that Google Lens is powerful and people aren't aware of it, and it's free. Absolutely. That's why I want to get that out so people are aware of it. Then there was a question about a time limit on the transcription for the podcast. So that wasn't actually Google Lens, the podcast one. That was for that was what we call live captions. No, there is no time limit at all. It just, as long as there's audio coming through, it keeps transcribing it for you. Now, it doesn't save it anywhere. It's not putting it into a document. It's just putting it up as captions on the page there. Awesome. Good stuff. All right, guys. Well, let's get to the last thing that I know I've been teasing the entire time, which is ChatGPT. Okay, so by now I'm sure everybody knows what ChatGPT is. If not, I'm excited to introduce you to this, but I'm more interested to hear your thoughts on this. But let's go ahead and we'll cover the basics anyway. So if you're not familiar with what this is, ChatGPT is from OpenAI. OpenAI is a company that got a lot of attention recently because they were the ones who did DALL-E 2. I don't know if you remember DALL-E. Let me pull up DALL-E real quick. DALL-E 2 was the OpenAI tool that you could give it text and it would generate images. So you could say, I want a teddy bear that is shopping for groceries in ancient Egypt, and it would create an image for you, so it was like amazing. It was blowing everybody's mind. So that's the company. That's who this is, OpenAI. Well, this is a second one of their projects, and it's called ChatGPT. Now, the GPT stands for Generated Pre-trained Transformer. If you are curious, but that's probably not terribly important there. And what this is an AI you can talk to. That's why it's a chat. It's a chat AI, and you can talk to it in totally natural language. Like you don't have to be, you can just type whatever you want. You don't have to worry about phrasing things a certain way. You can ask it questions and it answers and it converses with you, and it's amazing. It is so impressive. So let me demonstrate it. So I'm going to pull it over onto the screen. So this is it. This is ChatGPT. This is the website. And right now it's free for the moment. I don't know that it will always be free. They're in what they're calling the research phase. So this is open to anybody. So everybody's allowed to use it. I think they've got over 1 million users already. So it is really getting hit really quick. So let me just start off with something simple here. Let's say I come up and I say, hey, what are some good names for a pet cat? So I'm just going to ask it a simple question. What are some good names? Oh no, I made it mad here. Let me refresh the page. Sorry about that. There we go. I probably waited too long and it timed out. There we go. Okay, what are some good names for a pet cat? Here it goes. Okay. Some good names for a pet cat include, and it's giving a whole bunch of names here: Whiskers and Phoenix and Coco and Willow and Boots and Socks and whatever. Okay, that's awesome. So far, that's already pretty cool that, it has given me all these names, but then it gives some more stuff. It says, hey, the important thing is that you find something that fits their personality and your style. Maybe consider something from a favorite book or a movie character, a historical figure, a place you love. Ultimately, pick something that you and your cat love. Already, that's really impressive that it understood my question and that it went out and grabbed it. It synthesized this information. This is not from a web page. It didn't find this information and just give it to me. It synthesized this from everything that it knows. But here's what's really cool. You can continue the conversation. So I could just now say something like, what if the cat is black and white? So I'm assuming it remembers the conversation. It knows we're talking about naming my cat. So if I say, well, what if the cat is black and white? Oh no, here, let's try it again. It's okay. There's a lot of people using it. That's okay. There we go. If your cat is black and white, you should consider names that reflect their coloring, such as Oreo, Panda, Domino, Salt and Pepper, Tuxedo, so again, it's just so natural. You're just talking to it and it just feels like the most natural thing. Now, you can ask it pretty much anything. So like I could say, okay, let's reset the thread. We'll click in the top and reset the thread. Let's say, what are 5 helpful ideas to get more people to watch my live stream? Hey, we got a lot of people here tonight and I appreciate that very much. But let's say I want to, get a few more people watching my live stream here. Well, it's going to say, okay, promote your live stream on social media. Encourage your followers to share on their networks. Collaborate with other creators and influencers to cross-promote. Offer something exclusive or interesting during the live stream. Engage with your audience during the live stream. Consider paid advertising to promote it. Okay, so I'm doing a couple of those things. I'm promoting it on my networks. Hopefully I'm engaging with you guys. But yeah, I really should collaborate with others better. Maybe I do need to do an exclusive during the live stream. I don't know about paid advertising. I don't usually do that kind of stuff, but yeah, really we can ask it all kinds of stuff. Now it can also get really creative. Like let's reset it again. And I could say something like, can you write a poem about a rainbow cow? If you guys remember, I did the whole rainbow cow poem a couple of weeks back when we were using Canva and their AI image generator. Well, let's say I want it to write a poem about a rainbow cow. Sure. And here it goes. It is writing a poem about a rainbow cow, and it's just generating this. This does not exist. It's nowhere on the internet. This is a totally brand new, unique poem written by this AI. But you could also throw other things in there. You could say, well, okay, but what about in the style of William Shakespeare? And now it's going to rewrite the poem. Oh, rainbow. Sorry about that. I think the microphone went out. Oh no. And I don't know when it went out. I apologize. I'm not sure when the microphone went out there. So I apologize for that. I'm afraid I lost you guys for a moment there. I'll do a very simple, quick uh, recap of what I said there, but I apologize. I think we had it says my browser lost connection with the screen share audio. I'm not sure what happened, but I do have an error that popped up that says that my audio went out there. So I'm not sure when I lost you guys, so I won't go through all of that again. I apologize for that. But basically, what I wanted to talk about was the idea that, after playing around with the chat tool and trying out some of these, examples, I then had it write a blog post for me all about using about the positives and potential negatives of AI in the classroom. And that's what I really wanted to talk about, is how could this be used positively or negatively in the classroom. So I'm going to run through a couple of suggestions and ideas and see what you guys think about this. And I'd love to hear from you guys as well. All right, let's go ahead and jump on into this. Jessica says it was during the Shakespeare Rainbow Cow poem. I guess I broke the internet during that. That's when the audio went out. All right, so one of the very first things that I think people thought as soon as this hit and everybody started looking at this, one of the very first things we heard was, well, I guess that means that take-home tests or essays are obsolete now, because a student could simply use ChatGPT to write an essay. Because what we started seeing was things like this. Let's say I am in an English class and we're studying Hamlet, and maybe I've been given the assignment to write an essay comparing Hamlet with the Lion King. Well, I could come to ChatGPT and say, write a 250-word essay on the similarities and differences between the Lion King and Hamlet. Okay, let's see. So, The Lion King and Hamlet are two stories that share many similarities and differences. One of the most striking similarities is the way they both explore the theme of betrayal and the consequences that come with it. In both stories, the main characters must grapple with the betrayal of a loved one and seek revenge for their actions. In The Lion King, Simba's uncle Scar betrays his brother Mufasa, takes over the pride. You get the idea. It's still going here, and it's good. Other similarities that they both deal with the theme of family relationships. In both stories, the main characters must navigate complex and often strained relationships with their parents, blah, blah, blah. Despite their many similarities, there's some key differences. Between The Lion King and Hamlet, one of the most obvious is the medium through which the stories are told, an animated film versus a play. The difference in mediums means that the two stories are able to explore their themes and characters in different ways. For example, the use of music and animation in The Lion King allows for more light. Whoops! Oh, I got a network error. Sorry about that. Yeah. So there's a lot of people on the site, but I hope even just that. I know that was pretty quick there, but I hope even just seeing that shows you the power of this tool, that it could just taking this prompt, The Lion King and Hamlet, it is writing a 250-word essay with no problem, and it's really good. I mean, it's makes sense. It's well structured, and it's not going to show up in a plagiarism scanner. If you run this through Turnitin, if you run this through the originality report checker in Google Classroom, it's not going to catch this as being plagiarized, because it's not. This is original writing where this AI is synthesizing all these ideas. So it's not gonna get caught. And so, like I said, one of our first, again, we're hitting this network error. It's a lot of people are using the site, so I think it's really getting hammered here pretty hard. Well, so that's the thing that I think was the first reaction to this is, oh my gosh, we've got to lock everything down. We've got to, make sure that if a student's taking a test, they're in a secure browser that is locked down, that can't get out to the internet. If they take a test, we have to monitor them. It has to be proctored. We've got to lock everything down. Now, I'm not here to rail against that. There's a lot, I understand. I do get that. There is absolutely reasons why we need to have, good security in our testing and make sure that we're, authentically assessing our students. Absolutely. It doesn't make sense just for somebody to be like, oh, this is fine. Students just use this because, yes, understandably, you could cheat with this very, very easily. But what I've been excited about is people starting to discuss the positives, saying, okay, yeah, we got to deal with that. You're right. We got to start rethinking some stuff because this changes a lot. Well, what are some possible positives? So I'm just going to run through a couple of things that I've thought of, that other wonderful people on the internet have shared, that people have posted online, just some thoughts. So let's start with a simple one. Let's say the idea that a student just is trying to understand a concept. So if I come here and I say, explain photosynthesis, and it starts, explaining it to me, maybe I'm not following this. Maybe it's a little bit too complicated for me. I'm reading through it and I'm getting the gist of it, but maybe I'm getting lost in some of the more advanced text. Well, you can throw stuff in like, explain this to a child. And now it's going to do the same thing, but it's breaking it down in much simpler terms. And so it could be a student just wanting to take some information, take a concept, and get it explained to them on a level that they are comfortable with. Okay, let's keep going. What other things? What about just a flat out question that the student has? They're stuck on something. They're not sure. Maybe it's the difference between the word affect and effect. I get that. You're writing, you're like, I can't remember when do I choose affect? When do I choose effect? Well, I could throw that in and say, well, what's the difference between these? And it says, well, these are commonly confused words. Affect is a verb, where effect is a noun. For example, you can use affect in a sentence like this: the cold weather will affect the crops. In this sense, it's influencing the crops. On the other hand, you could use effect in a sentence like this: the effect of cold weather on the crops was damaging. I mean, oh my gosh. That's an amazing explanation. If a student is struggling, and here's the thing, guys, I think about not every student has the same support. When students go home, they don't all go home to the same house. They don't all go home to a situation where maybe they have as much support. There's a lot of inequity in our students' ability to get support. This is another wonderful support to come alongside, and I hope start to flatten that inequity out, to say, no, this can provide you with additional support if you're struggling and you don't maybe have somebody right there that you can ask right away who might know that example. Okay, let's keep going. What other things? I threw in another one. I threw in let's take another topic. Let's say, let's reset the thread. Let's say I want to learn about the Boston Tea Party. What was the Boston Tea Party about? Well, I could listen to this, and be like, oh, okay, so, we've got this protest, and, they're angry about being taxed without being represented. And so they threw a bunch of, tea into the harbor, and that led up to, that was one of the key things that led up to the war. Well, I could dive deeper. I could say they threw a bunch of tea in the water. That doesn't seem like just tea. What's the big deal about throwing tea in the water? So I could say, well, how much was the tea worth? And, it's going to say, well, it can't browse the web, so it's not connected to, it's just pulling from what it knows. But it says, the value of the tea, was not one of the main issues. It was about, being taxed without being represented. And if I don't, and it says that the destruction of the tea was a symbolic act of defiance against the British. Now, if I don't like the answer that we get, I can hit try again, and it will go out and try to pull up another answer for me there. And it's saying, well, I don't know exactly, but there was 342 chests of tea and it was holding about 90 pounds each. So it was a very valuable commodity at that time. So this was likely very significant. This incident caused a major loss for the East India Company and escalated the tensions. So I just love the conversational way that if there's something that I'm not sure about, I can follow these threads and keep going. Now, what about other things? Let's say that a student needs to write an essay about the positives and negatives of electric vehicles. Well, instead of coming here and just having it write the essay for them, what if we came in here and we said something like this instead? The student could say, give 5 positives about electric cars as a bulleted list. The idea here is it's going to go out and grab as much knowledge as it has, and it's going to synthesize for us 5 key points. These could be then the starting point for me as a student to launch off of and start researching. So now I know, okay, some of the key things are good for the environment, cheaper to operate, typically quieter, they can be charged at home, and you can get government incentives. Then I could throw in something like, now give 5 negatives. And it'll say, well, they're more expensive than gas-powered cars to buy. Their range is shorter, so it could be less convenient for long trips. They take a long time to charge. We don't have the infrastructure yet for charging all over the country. And some of them don't have the same performance as gas-powered cars. Well, now at least I know where to begin. I can start, going down these paths if I'm going to be, writing my report, or whatever I'm going to be researching. And so I thought that was fantastic. So right there, we've seen a bunch of examples where this is a tool that could, help a student start their research. It could help a student understand a concept better. How about summarizing an article? So there's a website that I enjoy a lot to use as an example called Dogo News. It's a very simple website. It's a kids current event article website. But I could come here and let's say I'm reading this article about the Artemis moon, mission that just went off. And let's say I wanted to get a summary of this article. Well, I could copy and paste this right into ChatGPT and have it summarize it. But somebody went out and they created a Chrome extension that does that for you. So if I go to any article now, I can come up and I can click on this Chrome extension called Summarize, and it takes it, goes out to ChatGPT, and then brings back a summary or bullet points, about this article here. Now, again, it may take a moment just because, again, I know a lot of people are hitting ChatGPT. So if this doesn't pop up right away, I might just have to refresh it. Oh, no, it's coming up. So it's giving me, NASA's Artemis spacecraft returned from its 26-day record-breaking trip. And here it's giving me a blurb, an explanation of what this article was about. It's summarizing it for me. Rather than me reading the entire article, I'm now getting this paragraph summarization of it. What a wonderful way to provide additional support to a student who is reading an article, but they need to maybe get the gist ahead of time as like an advanced organizer before they start the article, or afterwards to help summarize everything that they have seen there. So that's pretty cool. That's awesome stuff. All right. Now, we've just been talking about students. How about teachers? Could this save you time? Absolutely. So let's say I throw in something like this. Let's say you're a high school teacher. Write a professional email to the parents of your students with suggestions for how they can prepare for their upcoming semester exams. Well, if I do that, it's going to generate the foundation for an email that I could send out to all of the parents to help give them suggestions for their students to get ready for their exams. And again, I know a lot of people are hitting the site, so it is a little slower than it might be sometimes. But, dear parents, as we approach the end of the semester, want to reach out with some suggestions. And so, we've got encourage your child to review their notes and assignments so they stay on top of things. Help your child create a study schedule that breaks it down into manageable chunks. Encourage your child to seek help if they're struggling with any of this material, whether it's from me or their classmates or a tutor. Let's see what else. Encourage your child to get a good night's sleep and eat a healthy diet. It is writing this email for me, or this newsletter, or whatever I want it to be, to send out to the parents. So I guess what I'm saying is, there's no doubt this AI is incredibly powerful, and it's just version, I guess, 3.5. I guess version 4.0 is coming out soon. And then Google has their own version of this. Google has Lambda, and I've talked about Lambda before, Lambda, Lambda. That's Google's version, which from what I understand, Lambda from Google is even more powerful than this, but they've kind of kept it behind closed doors a little bit. So there's no doubt this is going to massively impact education. I guess I'm more curious about not just how can we, protect, the integrity of exams and stuff like that, but how can this improve us? How can this help students? How can we improve our assessments and improve our teaching and our students learning with this? So, there's no right answer to this yet. It's not like we've got this all figured out yet, but I think it's a really important topic for us to start discussing and really diving into. So if you have not done much with ChatGPT yet, I would definitely encourage you, go to the website. I'll pull the page back up. There it is. So chat.openai.com. Head over there. You can sign in, create an account and sign in. I would really encourage you to try it out. Take questions from your exams, put them in there, see how it answers your questions. Because if you can do it, your students can do it. And then we need to start having these discussions about, okay, so what do we need to change? How do we need to evolve? But also, how can this help our students? Because I think there's so much potential for this AI to assist us and to help us, and not just be a threat. So I'm looking here down through the chat, seeing a lot of stuff popping up here. Peggy's saying, unbelievable that it wrote a blog post for me. Yep, it did. I promise that's the last time. I will write all of my blog posts. I was just doing that as a demonstration. Karen's saying, the paper writing, will it take home final exam essays and will take home exams be changed now? Absolutely. Yeah, we'd have to kind of rethink that. Well, and that's a good point. So as an example, one of the folks in our Control Alt Achieve email, our email group, Heidi, she had a really great suggestion. And she said, here, I'll put it, see if I can probably drop it into a little bubble here to put on the screen, see if I get better at these banners here. Oh, it doesn't all fit on there. Oh, I can't get it all to fit on there. But I'll get at least part of it on there. Hopefully I can get some of it on there. There we go. She was saying, for example, a student might use the AI to generate an essay outline and then invest effort to determine if they reject or accept the premise behind the AI's generated work, or work to find information that would support it. And so I liked how it was like, okay, maybe we need to change the idea that it's not just the student writing an essay, but maybe let the AI write an essay, but then you need to dissect it. You need to say whether you agree with it, why you do or why you don't. So it could be a different approach to what essays are going to look like sometimes. Other people have said, maybe it's also going to mean more face-to-face oral type exams where students are speaking to us and we're questioning them, and it's more of a back and forth type of an exam where they're not just writing, but we're talking as well. Could be a lot of possibilities there. Jessica says it'd be great for brainstorming. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you could come here and ask it, if you're writing a story, what are some possible names for a character or something, and it will, generate all of these names for you. I've seen people talk about that. What else we have popping up here? Let's see. Peggy's saying her mind is blown away. I agree with you, Peggy. I'm right there with you. Jessica says it's like foreign language teachers adjusting to Google Translate or math teachers adjusting to PhotoMath. There's a lot of analogies there. I would bet if you went back when the calculator first hit, I bet people were screaming about what are we going to do? They have calculators now, and the same thing when YouTube hit. Well, you can learn everything on YouTube or the internet, or probably when, when video became so common. Well, now it's AI, that's the next thing. And you're right, we do have to adjust to that because it's the reality. And I think on one sense, it kind of helps us see where some of our shortcomings may have been. Assessment is always a somewhat inaccurate thing. Anybody that's been a teacher, if we're going to be honest, we know we really, really try hard to make our assessments authentically measure our students' knowledge, their skills, their understanding, but we know it's still a measurement. It's never perfect. There are a dozen things any one of us could list that would affect a student's ability to properly be measured. There's so many things that can throw it off. I think this once again raises that bar. It makes us step back and reflect and say, okay, what does it mean for a student to understand a concept? How can we measure that? How can they express that? We might have to think of, deeper ways for them to be able to show their understanding. And that's a good thing. Overall, that's a good thing if it moves us closer to a more accurate picture of our students' learning and understanding. So I don't think this is the last time we're going to talk about AI, guys, but I just wanted to get it on your radar. I apologize again about my audio going out there partway through. Again, I probably need to do a better job of keeping an eye on things. I probably could benefit from a co-host who's watching these things, but I really should just watch your chat. You guys were doing a good job. You were all yelling at me. You were doing the right thing. You were saying, "Hey, buddy, we can't hear you," and so I apologize for that. All right, excellent. Well, folks, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping things up. So tell you what, let me go ahead and pop back on the screen. So hello again to everybody. As we start to wrap up, I'll just remind you that this document, as always, can be found at bit.ly/CAA-live. You can come back week after week after week. My plan is to continue to do this on Monday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern. And I would love for suggestions from you guys for ways to improve this. Anything we can do to make this even more valuable for you. This is a work in progress, as I am working through the best way to make this a valuable time for you and for me and for all educators out there. But thank you guys so much for taking the time to be with me. I really appreciate it, whether you're here live or watching the recording later. Please do connect. I've got all of my ways to connect with me here. Please do continue to provide feedback through all these options as well. And next Monday, I'll update this between now and then. So December 19th. Next Monday should be our next live stream. I'll put in all the new links there so you guys can get that queued up for you for next week. Other than that, let me see if there's any last things in our comments here that I have missed. Just seeing some thank yous. Beth, I appreciate that. Jessica saying, great as always. Thanks bunches. Well, Jessica, I really appreciate the encouragement. Peggy, I'm glad that this is a gold mine. That means a lot to me. I'm glad that this is valuable for you guys. Well, again, you guys have a wonderful week. Enjoy playing with ChatGPT. I'm excited to see what you guys learn. And I'll see you guys next week and maybe in between. If you join the Control Alt Achieve email discussion group, we can chat all throughout the week as well. Take care, everybody, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week.